Hi guys, welcome to our sessions on ACCA. My name is Zaheer Sayed and I will be your ACCA mentor. I teach at FPA multiple papers including law, taxation, reporting, audit, and strategic business leadership. What we will be doing today is that cover the introduction to the corporate and business law. Very important to note, there are two variants, English and global. We will stick to the global law because that is more relevant to us. While English law is not going to be crazy different, however, we will stick to the global law because we will be able to relate to a lot of things that we also do in India as well as on, of course, a global level. What we are going to cover today is the overview as well as the syllabus, the exam pattern, and how to prepare for the exam. Right. So very quickly, um, these are your chapters. Now, what we do at FPA is that we use the Kaplan books, right? So, this is the index from the Kaplan book. And at the time I'm recording, it is 2024, right? So, this is going to be the latest updated syllabus available. Now, as you can see, there are not very many chapters, only about 13. The first one, which is essential elements of legal system, it really talks about what is the legal system, how does the legal system come about, who makes these laws, what's the process of making the laws, and then of course also taking references from the various systems out there of law like civil law, common law, and Sharia law as well, right? So therefore you do get understanding a lot of point of views when we go through this chapter. The next one is international commercial arbitration. Now, you may be hearing the word arbitration for the first time. Really, it is to get someone in there to solve and help the cases for you. Now, understand this. Whenever there is any kind of disconnect, right? Would you always want to go to a court and spend crazy amounts of time and money into the court system? Maybe not. There are certain things that can be done by getting someone independent of the two parties so that they can have a very independent point of view and help you solve the disconnect, right? So the arbitration process is that we will see how this works. The next one is international business transactions, formation of contract. Now, it is important as a qualified accountant to know how a contract is made. And this chapter will tell you what are the little nuances that we need to understand around the contract, right? Including, and that is what is the next chapter as well, which is around obligations, right? Because when we are in the commercial world, if you are dealing with any parties, and look, qualified accountants, a lot of time we will double for people who also understand the legal side of things, right? So contract law becomes extremely important, right? What are the obligations of buyer, what are the obligations of seller, right? And how a contract can come into being, and a lot of things around it. All right, moving on to international business transactions, risk and payment, right? So how does the payment come about? We will talk a lot around the letter of credit process, and what happens if the person is not paying, or what the banking system plays, what is their role in the overall flow of funds, monies, etc., right? So that's what we're going to look in this chapter. Then comes international business forms agency. Now this chapter really talks about a very important principle in the commercial world, which is the principle of agency. When you hire someone to do the job for you, because let's say if you look at companies like Reliance and Adani and TCS and Infosys, right? They're not any longer just responsible for the founder and their interests, but they have now a lot of public monies as well. So therefore, these public or the investors or the owners, right, they cannot run the company themselves, and therefore they will hire directors to run the company on their behalf. Those directors are the agents, right? So we're going to look at how this thing comes about, what are the various rules, what are the various limitations around this, and that brings us into the next chapter, which is what are different types of organizations. It's not always public limited, it's not always private limited. There are also partnerships. So what are the different types of organizations that can be put together? Then you've got corporations and legal personality, right? Because we need to understand that when there is a company, let's say like Infosys or a TCS or a Reliance, right? A company, when they default, does not necessarily mean the directors have defaulted or the directors working there have gone bankrupt, right? So that is the reason why corporate and the people who run them are two distinct identities. Therefore, this chapter gives you a very good understanding of why sometimes companies may go bankrupt, but still the people who were running them, founded them. And there's a very good example of Anil Ambani, right? So while the Reliance Enterprise, or the companies that Anil Ambani was running is all bankrupt, well, at least mostly bankrupt, but he still continues to be a billionaire, right? Then you've got capital and financing. Here we will look at what are the different types of capital that the company use, the loan capital, the share capital. What are the limitations around it? Can company just go about and keep raising funds, or can company just go about taking loans? Because we need to understand there are things like articles, memorandum, which in the companies will tell you a lot around how can you go about raising or structuring your capital, right? Then comes directors, super important, right? Because we need to understand directors are the people who are running the company on the behalf of investors. Therefore, what are their rights, duties, responsibilities, obligations, right? What if they do something wrong which is not in the best interest of the company and the investors, right? So those things. Corporate administration is to do with what are the things, what are the documents, what are the meetings, etc., that needs to be done for the company to maintain its status as a company. You should know that, for example, in India, there are lots of guidelines by SEBI, by MCA, right, who will tell you that these are the documents that needs to be filed every year, every quarter, until when you need to store these, what are the various registers you need to keep at the company's HO, etc., etc., right? So that's what you will look in the company administration. Moving on to insolvency. So right from the start of the business, where we are talking about agency types, how do you go about setting up a business, etc., to the insolvency, which is about wrapping up the business. So it is not always going to be that you will be able to continue the business forever. There will be possibilities that you may have to wrap up. Now, how do you go about wrapping it up? And are you the only one as a founder who gets a say in wrapping up? You may have creditors, you may have other members who may say that, look, this business is no longer viable. Uh, while I'm making this video, there's a lot of controversy around one of the largest edtech companies in the world, Byju's, right? And the last I saw is that the other investors wanted the CEO, Baiju, to exit and step down, right? So there are lots of things around how the company can be administered and what are the responsibilities, around the people who are managing the companies. If they don't do the things right, then it is possibly going to be insolvent. And then the last, very important again, especially in times like today, is the corporate and fraudulent behavior. Things like money laundering, right, has become so prominent these days. So therefore, we need to understand what are the rules or what are the responsibilities around these things, as well as, if you are someone who's working in an organization, and let's say you are using details, an insider information you use for trading, or you know that the company is doing extremely well, going to have fantastic results, and you mention that to your friend and your family, that constitutes to an insider trading. So all those nuances will be covered in this chapter, right? So look, the syllabus is not massive, and like I said, that it can be done fairly quickly. I've had actually students who have been able to complete the law paper in less than 4 weeks as well, right? So therefore, I do hope that if you are continuing the journey with me at FPA, like I said, I will be taking this paper up for you and be there in your journey to complete the law. right? Now, whenever we start to talk about any subjects, it is important to understand what's going to come in the exam, right? I've always told this to my students, is that always prepare with the end in mind, that what is it that you're preparing for. So there is 100 marks paper. Now, while this is a skill paper, the paper is done in a very similar manner to what your knowledge level papers look like. So, and if you are not aware of it, your knowledge level papers are on demand exams. It can be done any time of the year, and they are 100% objective style questions. They are 2 hour exams, right? And it can be done from home as well as at an approved center like FPA. We have one center in Mumbai at Borivali, right? So if you are in and around Borivali or even outside Mumbai and you want to book a seat, you just have to let us know, right? So the exam pattern. The paper is 100 marks. It is split between section A and section B. Section A has got 25 2 marks question, again from anywhere of from the syllabus, right? So unfortunately, or maybe this is the right thing to do, is that we will not be able to call out that these 2 mark questions will always come from these areas. And of course, over a period of time, you start to understand that there are these questions which usually come up, right? But ACCA and the ACCA fraternity is against question spotting. Therefore, I will not be able to say, what, just do these 3 chapters and you'll be done. That's not going to happen, right? So 25 2 marks question, and then 20 1 mark questions. So that makes it 70 marks. And then comes your section B, which will have 5 6 marks case based questions. So you have like a scenario kind, and in which you will have task 1, task 2, task 3, right? So again, these are all objective style questions, right? And that's the reason why you are able to do the paper fairly quickly. And believe you me, at FPA we have one of the highest pass rates when it comes to law. Why? Because this is how we prepare for the exam. You do the full study text. Now, good news, we will be covering the study text together in the class. We do not skip anything. We do not keep anything that you will do a self study. The whole textbook, whatever are the contents, we will be covering in the class, right? And while you're doing that, I would be urging you on the journey that you need to do bits from the exam kit. I will also do a separate session on how to use the exam kit, right? So you are doing study text, you're doing exam kit, and what we've seen now, this is the latest edition in the content available, is Study Hub. You guys need to use Study Hub as much as possible. Brilliant platform, lots of exam style questions, right? Lots of very good notes as well, right? So however, we are absolutely focused on students doing the MCQs, the objective style questions from the Study Hub. So that will give you a brilliant edge. You've got then mocks. Now mocks at FP. The reason why we've got pass rates in law as high as 90-95% is because of the number of mocks that you will be doing. We get you to do almost 9 to 12 mocks, right? Depending on how your scores are, right? And we will be using all the content available out there. Therefore, you will, as long as you have done all of these mocks, you have studied everything that we've asked you, you will be, I can guarantee you, you will be able to pass, right? And of course, you should also, while you're practicing, do the papers available on the CBE platform. Not many, but yes, you will be able to get an understanding of how the paper will look when you go to the exam center. Look, never ever, never ever go to an exam without having had the chance of doing a few papers on the CBE platform, because look, you don't want to look at the exam the first time ever when you are doing the actual exam. Why? Because you will start to feel anxious. You don't know how the system works. You don't know where to look for. You don't know how to navigate to the next question. You don't know what happens when you get stuck in between questions, right? So there are lots of things that will be very new to you if this is the first paper you are starting with, right? So therefore we always urge that you guys start with your CBE. You do the CBE platform exam before you give the actual exam, right? So that's all we had in our today's session. I really hope that you do decide to take the journey of global law paper with me, and I assure you, if you do follow whatever we are doing in the class and whatever I ask you as part of your homework, you will be able to crack this paper first time round. All right, so on that note, all the very best, and I will see you soon in the next class. Thank you so much.